Good afternoon, everybody.
Good afternoon.
I appreciate you inviting me out. I'm glad to be here. I'm glad to be amongst fellow travelers. This group, like many others operating across the country, are the brush fires of freedom and liberty. I believe it was Patrick Henry who spoke of setting these brush fires in pursuit of our liberties and freedom and maintaining them. So we're all part of that effort. Our shoulders are against the wheel. We stand in solidarity with our president-elect to restore America. We're going to do the same thing for Jackson. So many of the problems that America is facing, Jackson is facing. And so I stand before you as a candidate for mayor. Many of you have in front of you my little push card. As you can see, I have one, but man, that's awful thin on that background, bro. I said, well, the problems that's wrong with Jackson is not necessarily going to be solved by people with all these advanced degrees, because we've had that. In fact, many of the candidates who are presently running have resumes that are extensive in all the various areas that you think could fix the city of Jackson. But the missing ingredient is integrity, or ingredients, integrity and lack of character. Now, I'm not claiming to be a bastion of virtue, but I have some good old-fashioned home training. We're going to bring common sense, we're going to bring integrity, we're going to bring fair dealing, honest dealing back to government. I don't have any special potions or anything I'm going to be waving. We're just going back to basics. Where Jackson is right now in 2024, we have ran off so many businesses. We have discouraged so many people who had high hopes for Jackson. We have leaders who've been walking around with chips on their shoulders, insolent attitudes and smile and scowls and all that. We're not doing it anymore. We're going back to basics. We're going to get results. We're not doing race. We're not doing any of the things that have made Jackson up to this date. There are many things we will continue on doing, but the things that we're not going to be doing is indulging people who work for the city of Jackson, work with the city of Jackson, allowing them to do anything other than their best. We're going to raise the gaze of Jacksonians. We're going to lift the gaze of what's expected of our city workers. That includes myself. My every waking hour as mayor and your every working hour as an employee is to make Jackson look good. If you contract with the city of Jackson, if you're a judge in the city of Jackson, whoever you are on Jackson's behalf, you have to make Jackson look good. That's going to be the criteria we're going to be looking at, people. Nobody's getting fired wholesale coming in the door. That's not going to happen, because we want to win them over to the vision. The vision is to make Jackson work again, increase the livability, quality of life in Jackson. And in fact, with what has happened to date, when we ran off all the WorldComs and the Puckett machineries and all that kind of stuff, really all we have as Jacksonians to offer the marketplace is people with a better ideal, some good home training, respect for others. That's a currency at this point here. You know, I was watching the news last night. We were talking about the JPS project where they're trying to redevelop Lake Hyco, which is part of my program. If you look at my website, votekimwade.com, I talk about the North Jackson, Lake Hyco, the Amazon plant. What they keep missing, just like they say there's so much land over here on Highway 18 and on Highway 80 that could be developed. Yes, it could. But if you're not willing to deal with the personnel issues, if you're not willing to deal with the attitude issues of Jacksonians, people don't want to be around us. That's the honest to God truth. And they have good reason. We can sit back here and say, oh, you're just doing it because we're gender neutral or trans or we're black. Okay, you can think that. The marketplace has passed judgment on the city of Jackson. You know, it's not racism. The Mississippi Development Authority will tell you that if you want to be in consideration for an Amazon or a Nissan or a Continental Tire or whatever, those institutions, those companies, they're looking for areas that have quality schools. And if you're not willing to give them that, you're not even in the hunt. And yet we keep insisting that we're going to do it our way. We're going to make people accept us. We're going to get a federal law that says you got to have X number of Jacksonians or X number of blacks or X number of females or X number of Hispanics. No. All you have to do is act like you have some home training. Make people want to be around you. And so if we get these schools up to a level 5, what I have been proposing in my economic plan for Jackson, we're going to use North Jackson as an economic engine to turn the city. We're going back to a meritocracy in terms of city government is concerned. We get the Callaway, North Jackson, for those of you who are familiar with the schools in Jackson. These are the schools up off Beasley Road near 220. Get Callaway to high school, Kirkley Junior High, and North Jackson Elementary. You get those up to a level 5, then people who would normally move to Madison to have good schools so they wouldn't have to pay for private schooling will give Jackson some consideration. You can build all the housing projects you want, but nobody's going to come in there if their kids got to be sacrificed for them to be there. That's not going to happen. So we're just going to get with the program. We got to build houses at market rate prices. And that's the only way you can build houses at market rate prices is by having good schools. Because otherwise, the houses that you build has to be subsidized. And if it's being subsidized, there's a reason for it. That means people naturally would not go there but for the subsidy. So we want to get it where, no, I want to be there. I want that house. I'm willing to pay whatever it costs. That's how you're going to grow this thing. It's not rocket science. Nissan, Amazon 1 and Amazon 2, that's a $15 billion investment in the metro area. Jackson and Canton's are the only 2 municipalities that have not parlayed that investment into a better community, in my estimation. And I'm saying we're done with that. Nobody wants to come and relocate to Jackson if you come in here and say, well, how many minorities are you going to have? That's none of our damn business. Just like our president, people sent me a text last night, well, he doesn't have any people of color in his cabinet. So you got qualified people in his cabinet. That's what we want. That's what we're going to do in the city of Jackson, against all odds and all opposition, because that's what's going to work. We're going to get the smartest people to work on the hardest problems until they're completed, and then they'll get recognition for having completed that task successfully. If they happen to be black, cool. And if they want to say, hey, I'm celebrating the first black woman who successfully did this, that's fine, that's cool. But at the end of the day, you're not going to get hired because you're black. You're not going to get hired because you're female. You're going to get hired because you got a track record of excellence and delivering excellence. This is not rocket science. We just have to hold standards, and we're going to do that. So what I'm proposing as mayor, all the policies that flow out of this administration will be based on 2 things: what's good for kids and what's good for property values. If you look out for kids, you're looking out for the future. If you look out for the future, you can finance it with property values that are rising. My goal as mayor is to take the land that's within the city of Jackson, that's within the county of Hinds, and try to increase the property values, the value of property 10% a year for 4 years. So people don't mind paying the taxes on their property if the property has a value that's equal to the taxes. They don't have a problem with that. But if we start working towards those policies that respect the value of the property, for instance, we see the trash that we see as we travel up and down the streets. That's one of the things we'll be doing under the Kim Wade administration. We may have to spend a disproportionate, or what many might consider an inordinate amount, on trash the first couple of years. But it's going to pay off in the perception. See, when you don't see trash, you don't think about trash. But when you see it, you think about it, you say, this place is going down. So we have to start marshaling the resources we have of Jackson towards that goal of making the quality of life in Jackson better. Now, everybody has something to contribute. I don't care if you're homeless, bum, whatever your issue. If you're in Jackson, you're going to have to contribute. So what is your job as a bum, as somebody out there begging? You're going to have to get a permit. If you're begging for money, you know you need money. You obviously, whatever your addiction you have or whatever mental illness you have, you have enough sense to know that you need money. So that being said, we'll just charge them a fee, and then we'll use that fee to pay the officers to keep them moving off from in front of your business. If they don't have a permit, they're going to get scooped up. We're going to put a trailer out at the furthest end of the boundary for the city of Jackson, wherever that is from downtown. And when we pick you up, we're going to take you over there. We're going to process you, take 2 or 3 hours. We'll wait till after lunchtime and let you out. You can walk back down. When they get tired of getting harassed like that, they'll find somewhere else. We're not being harsh, but the federal courts have let these people back out on the streets as a result of what the Department of Justice is doing. This is the lady that you see on the news, Christian Clark, head of the Civil Rights Division for the Department of Justice now, who's in that position. She's the one that's suing to release all these people from the Section 8, the Regional 8 centers. They got people there who are skilled at handling folks like that, but they're going into the court saying these people should be mainstreamed into society. Okay, if that's what your argument is in court, then they can pay taxes. They can get permits, they can do all those things. In other words, we're going to be expecting everybody to be adults. Everybody's got to contribute something. We got too many things in Jackson that require labor and manpower, and we're feeding people 2 or 3 meals a day and asking nothing of them. That's not going to continue on. We're going to start the conversation about one of the things that I see as mayor and that caused me to want to throw my hat in the ring. People in the compassion industry has a disproportionate say-so in the running of Jackson, well, pretty much a lot of municipalities, but I'm all for compassion, I'm all for helping the poor, but I will not take care of a grown man who's younger than me and ain't nothing wrong with him other than he got a bad attitude, or he wants to get high all day, or whatever the case may be. I got no problem with you doing that. You just can't eat off me. But if that's what you want to do, that's fine. But you can't come out in front of the country fishermen and run him off. So the stew pot will brag, okay, we fed 100 new people today, and then Blunt, the proprietor of this place, says, well, we were down 50 dinners a day. Well, wait a minute now. He's the one who's donating to the stew pot to keep them going. So while the stew pot is stroking their ego, yeah, we did this good, yada, yada, and God knows I want them to continue on the mission God has laid on their heart. I'm not saying that. I'm saying, but if we come to you and say, look, it might be better that we move you like we do the strip clubs to an industrial park and let you do your magic over there, well, then they're going to have to walk. I know. That's the whole purpose. We don't want them sitting, getting a full meal and then go out there and fall asleep in the doorstep of some business downtown. We cannot afford this anymore. So when we talk with them and they bow up and they say, oh, no. So in other words, if you think that what you do is so important that it affects the overall community in a negative impact, when that community, when it was prospering under Danks and others, when the shelves were full of stock that we could donate to the stew pot, nobody complained. And now we come to you and ask you, say, we might need you to make an adjustment. Could you help us out here? And if they bow up, then we got another issue that needs to be discussed. Because wait a minute, guys, what's the goal here? Because there's going to come a time when this institution won't be here and they won't have any money or resources to donate to the stew pot. So at some point, we got to get real where we're headed with this thing. And that's where I'm coming in. My years in real estate has showed me that there is a method for developing communities. It's not rocket science. It's been done. In fact, those are the values and the processes that made America great. We're just going back to it, and we're going to do it unabashedly. We're going to make Jackson great again. It's not impossible. There was a time when people knew Jackson. When I got here in '81, Jackson was popping. Highway 80 was popping. So we're going back to that time. I want to, since they don't allow all these migrants, immigrants, or whatever you want to call them into the country, my thoughts are, let's do what everybody else is not doing. And I spoke with the commercial real estate group. I said, guys, if you got any landlords, owners of properties, they're willing to cut a deal, let's try to make Highway 80 little Venezuela, or Terry Road, little Koreatown, or whatever. In other words, make a deal with those guys on the shopping center and say, look, we're going to let you come in here, you can start paying us a discount rate or whatever. Just make it work. We got to get some activity. You got to get the money flowing in the city. And so right now, it's just like I was telling you about the housing. If they have to be subsidized, that means there's something wrong. So if these shopping centers have to subsidize some immigrant who wants to open up a, I don't know, whatever kind of shop, then that's what it's going to take. But one thing we know that they're going to bring their families in. They're going to sit in those businesses all day long. They'll sell you a cigar one at a time or a cigarette one at a time. They'll sit there. But the bottom line is we got some commerce going. We got some tax dollars coming into the city. So that's one of the things we're going to be looking at doing. So much of what I'm talking about here is going to be real estate related. We're going to bring in the real estate professionals. the guy who's opening up the movie studio over here in the Metro Center. He's just throwing good money at the bag. It's not going to work. Not because the idea's not good, that's not the location. And see, many of these people, they don't talk to the real estate community. They say, hey man, I'm thinking about doing this, and yada, yada, yada. But just come and talk. Say, look guys, you might want to go over here and do this and do it that way. So we're just trying to help bring in perspective the various professionals that's needed. So it's not rocket science how it's getting done. People say, well Kim, what about the crime? Nobody can do anything about crime right now. It can be dealt with, but just not right now the way people think they want it dealt with. What we can do is keep the criminals moving. I ran into Governor Bryant yesterday, and he was talking about his days as a deputy sheriff. One of the things we're going to be doing is allowing the police officers to do their own thing. I'm going to back them to the hilt. I'm going to tell them, when you go out on a shift change at 3 o'clock, you come back in at 11, you come back into the precinct 2 days in a row, and you still got the same heel on your boot, you're subject to disciplinary action. I want you to go out there and explain the program to that miscreant, let him know you ain't the only one who can get up at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning and do something deep. I'm not advocating violence. We're going back to the old, because sometimes if you just tell the guy, look, I know what you're doing in this neighborhood, I know you're casing houses, I'm just going to tell you no. You need to take this somewhere else. I'm not running you in right now. I'll catch you back over here if you want to jail. Because if I arrest her, let's say she's homeless or whatever, I arrest her, I'm going to spend 2 hours doing paperwork at the end of my shift. She's going to be back out on the street the next day. But if I let her go, and she knows, okay, remember y'all, I don't know if y'all remember Kojak.
Oh yeah.
That's Kojak is who I was introduced to when I first got here. And he explained the program to you. He didn't arrest everybody, but he had order in his precinct. And that's what I want the officers to have their precinct under control. So keep her from sitting in this guy's doorway or doing something else. Because if they get caught up in the system, all they're going to do is get some paperwork telling them to come back at some future date. And yet they're back out there doing all the same drama. So until we get the circuit court judicial system balanced and working again, there's no need to keep dumping more people into the system. We got to have another way of doing it. So I'm going to be instructing my officers. You will not be penalized by the city of Jackson for turning that camera off and on if you feel there's a need to. So I might run into her and say, you know what, this young man here or this young lady here, she just needs a good talking to. Turn the camera off, explain the program to them, and let them know. That camera cuts both ways. It can exonerate or implicate. But I want you to have that call. There are some people who say, no, you have cameras on all the time. It's like raising kids. Sometimes, if you're in a store somewhere and your child acts the fool, they do something, they get immediate justice or punishment. And then sometimes you just pull them to the side and explain, when I get home, you know. So there are opportunities where we got to allow these officers to have that flexibility. And so if we can do that, we're going to slowly get to the point. I mean, I'll be willing to, let the citizens of Jackson pay a couple $500,000 settlements to get the message across that you don't want to do this in Jackson. Because at the end of the day, they trying us. They try us every time. They use every angle they even think of. I'm not talking about police brutality. I'm talking about being firm in the application of the law and letting them know that it's going to be certain that they're going to jail. You put those handcuffs on somebody and put them in the back of the police car. I remember I got arrested. I was over at the UMC. I was working with the phone company. Make a long story short, illegal parking. And we've been going over there for years parking. When they see the AT&T truck, they just said, okay, you can park right here, run in there and get your assignment where you're going to be on campus. So this guy here wasn't, I told you don't park there. So I said, look, man, y'all called me. Y'all called us for service. So I'm over here trying to fix that. I said, besides, you're nothing but a rent-a-car. Before I could say, get cop out here, I with my toes like this. So he arrested me, put me in the back of the patrol car, and I believe he rolled over every pothole in Jackson going down the Raymond. But I realized I don't want to do that again. So there are little things you can do to get the, without harming them, let them know that this is really an inconvenience. So we're just going to go back to the things that work. Now, as it relates to the schools, Kim, what are you going to do about the schools? The problem in the schools is that they lack structure. So you got a classroom with 25 kids. You got one child who come in late. He's coming in late, 45-minute class period. He's dapping everybody coming down the aisle, disrupting the class. Then he's sitting back there just causing the disruption. I want the teachers to have absolute control over who gets to sit in that classroom. Because if you put that knucklehead out, then the other 45 can get their lessons. Because what we need to do is cut down on the number of juvenile delinquents we're producing every year out of our public schools. And that's going to be one of the ways. Because if those 24 get their reading and writing lessons, they're less apt to drop out of school, drop out of society. Most of the people who you see standing outside in front of the convenience stores are people who are not necessarily mentally ill. They were people who wouldn't listen in class and got put out or dropped out or whatever, and now they're 25 years old, don't know how to read and write, and they're embarrassed. So they start acting like they have a mental illness. Not all of them, but there's enough of them. And what we're going to be dealing with in our administration, we're going to be solving problems by percentages. A little bit here. I look at the first 4 years being nothing but bunts and base hits. No home runs. We're just going to methodically work through the problems. We're going to get the confidence of the community back where they want to be here. People who can afford to leave will say, let's give it another 4 years. Let's try it. Let's see if this is going to work. One of the things that I want to do, I want to make it clear, and I make it clear every chance I get to speak. We're going to be, our emphasis is going to be on the people who make Jackson work. Because the people who make Jackson work are the people who pay for Jackson. So we can't have these people who are whose grip on life is less secure than others. Can't have them running the show. They can have input, but if you haven't figured out how to pour water out of a pair of Crocs, I don't want you to tell me about how to pour water out of a pair of Crocs. We're going to get this people, for instance, the Belhaven community. The storm comes through there, and there's debris everywhere. A company like Hinds that does a lot of business with the city of Jackson comes out and says, we'll donate dump trucks this Saturday to come into the Belhaven community. The Belhaven community offered elbow grease to put the debris in the back of the truck. The city will pay for it. Well, what would Hemphill get out of it? Well, Hemphill is going to get what I call Kim credits. Because we're going to do away with affirmative action, DEI, and set aside contracts and all that kind of stuff. So Hemphill will get, let's say, 100 Kim credits. So when they put a bid in on a contract, they'll have an extra 100 credits because they did that. That way, rather than doing set-aside programs for race, gender, and all that, anybody can participate. If she has a reading program, if she gives 100 hours worth of reading credits to help at-risk kids or whatever, she gets 100 credits. So if she ever put a bid in, she gets 100 credits. This is going to pass legal muster because nobody's being discriminated. All you got to do is be willing to help. You got people who've been getting contracts who don't want to give back. They taking money, buying Maybachs, and I mean, don't get me wrong, I don't begrudge it, but we can't do it like that anymore. Under the Kim Wade administration, you'll be able to make a profit as a contractor with the city of Jackson. You're not going to make a killer. That's all. You're not going to make a killer. You're not going to get no sweetheart deal doing projects that the city don't need in terms of 1, 2, 3 priorities, like the water meter replacement. That wasn't needed. That wasn't top of the list. Matter of fact, I lived my whole life. Other than the apartments that I had, every summer, every July, the meter would go around an extra $1,000, and I end up with a $3,000 water bill. But that was, again, an anomaly. But people weren't clamoring for that. What we're going to do, I spoke with Jake Wyndham. He's got a lady over there, and they got some software that they use on prioritizing the work that needs to be done in the city of Jack, or in the city of Pearl, rather. And we're going to get that type of software and work with it and have the projects. So the contractors who want to do business with the city of Jackson, these are the things that we need to have done in a 1, 2, 3 manner, because like what Ted Hennepin is doing with the water. We need Ted to get the major junctures down Woodrow Wilson, 55, and everyone, get all that stuff squared away, and then we have to raise the money to be able to fix the streets and the sewer lines off in the neighborhoods. That's why it's so important that we take this approach. To that end, I, as a mayoral candidate, what we're going to do, working through my friend here, Tracy Thomas, and her nonprofit, Alpha Generation. Alpha Generation, we're going to have a youth business expo February the 8th at the Salvation Army Community Center, which we're going to have young business people from the 12th grade on down come out and present their wares. Whether it's a lemonade stand, cookies, they're selling bracelets, hats, dresses, whatever. We're going to grow the citizens that we want. We're going to grow the taxpayers that we need. Those kids who will be there that day is going to be the taxpayers in 10 years. We're not going to be holding meetings where we're bringing the kids in and we're going to talk about civil rights all day. We're not going to do that. It's not that it's not important. It's just not important right now. We've got to save Jackson. We got to restore Jackson. And one of the things we have to do is raise the gaze. When we have this business expo for the kids, I want the adults like yourselves to come through there. This is what I want you to look for. I want you to look for that child with the spark. And I want you to put your hand on that child's shoulder. Young lady, when you turn 18, I want you to come and apply at my company. And you know what that will do for that child for the next 2 years. The child's 16 now. 2 years, I think, hey, I'm something. You ain't got to do years and years of mentoring. Put some money in their pocket. They get that money in their pocket, and they can be their own man and woman. So we're just going to do this. I'm basing this on my own lifestyle. I remember cutting grass and shoveling snow and raking leaves and all that kind of stuff. And raking leaves, and then going to bed tired, but waking up with a pocket full of money, going up to the soda fountain at the drugstore, sitting up there like I'm a boss, you know, drinking a float, eating a hot dog while my buddy won. You know, that's the type of things that will give the kids the self-esteem they need, rather than just saying, oh, you're great and all that. No. They're going to get it from earning. So we're not going to dwell on all the things of the past. When we have a meeting with the city, it starts at 8 o'clock in the morning to deal with traffic lights. At 8 o'clock, no later than 8:01, that meeting's going to start. We're not going to be talking about your rights. You're not going to be marching for your rights, civil rights. We're talking about traffic lights. That's it. That's the purpose of this meeting. We're not here to talk about your feelings and all that. Uh-oh. I guess that's a sign, Lord. Shut it down. But so that's where we're approaching this. We're just coming from a common sense approach to it. And I'll tell you now, I'll make it clear. Because, you know, as a conservative, as one of the founders of the Tea Party in Mississippi, rock rib supporter of Donald Trump, unabashedly so, I make it clear when I get the accusation, oh, you just want to bring in all the white folks. Hell yeah. That's what I like about Donald Trump's cabinet. When I look at Tom Homan, that's my guy. Amen. That's my guy. I wear a t-shirt with his face on it. Because you can look at that guy and say, he will do what he's been charged to do for free. I can see him dragging folks by their hair across the line. And that's what we want. You know, because at the end of the day, once they get the results, they say, okay, they're going to scream like stuck pigs in the interim, but I'm the right huckleberry to withstand that BS. I don't care. You can fall down, I just step with you. Boy, you need to get up. That's where I'm going to approach them. And see, they're not used to somebody not catering to their foolishness and their emotionalism. We're going to get results. We got people out there with skill sets ready to go, ready to make this thing happen. It's not rocket science. So I'm going to be calling on some of the old employees of the city of Jackson who were there when it worked, maybe to come back and do 6 months, just help stabilize, because my goal is to stabilize the systems of Jackson. I'm not reading balance sheets. I'll sign both sides of my paycheck. I understand how that works. But I'm going to bring in the folks that don't. We're going to have a city manager, facto or de facto, one way or the other. When I was looking at the mayor going into the federal court, he had 10 people behind him. I said, that's where the money for my city manager is coming from. A couple of those folks is going to be no longer with us. Not because I got something against them, there's something bigger here. And so that's why I said everybody's got something to offer, and that's what we're going to be going for. I'm just bringing in the firmness and resoluteness, and I'm willing to work with anybody. I know folks on both sides of the aisle. I'm not an unknown factor, and we're not going to be rejecting anybody's help. But one of the things we're not going to do the first 4 years, we're not going anywhere to beg with our hands out. Because we got too many things that we need. It's like if your loved one was into drugs and you started seeing them getting their lives together. You're encouraged. All the times that you said you wouldn't fool with them anymore, once you start seeing them make an effort, you're more than willing to help. And the people of Mississippi will be the same way with the city of Jackson if they see that we're great. And I'm gonna be unabashed about it. Jackson, we gotta say thank you. We just gotta say thank you. Whether we like Governor Reeves or not. Gratitude doesn't go out of style. And that's what we're going to be emphasizing, because right now you got a lot of folks with their butts all up on their shoulders thinking that because they were once this or once that or this happened to them that they, no. Home training doesn't go out of style. And so we're going to bring that back. Many of you who worked in Fortune 500 companies, you heard of ISO 9000, 2000, whatever. I think it's 9000. I don't know what's advanced now. 9,000. But we're going to use those concepts. Everybody's a customer, everybody's a client. When you want to build a house or you want to open up a business, our permit department, which is one of the cash registers for the city, has to understand he's not going to be delayed. You're not going to tell this builder that you'll be out one day next week. No, I'll be out Monday between 8 and 12. And when you file your paperwork with the permit department to get something done, the mayor's office is going to get a copy of it. I'm not going to sit there and open it up every morning for my morning coffee. But if you call and say, man, nothing's moving on my paperwork, oh, okay, I see you brought it in, then I want to talk to the person who received it. Everybody who works for the city who signs off on paperwork, unless there's some extenuating circumstances, by 10 o'clock the next morning, that paperwork needs to be off your desk and over to where the next stop. Because people are waiting on money. My friend here, he's been a contractor waiting on the money from the city, haven't you? Once or twice? And you don't ever know when it's going to come. We're going to try to eliminate all these unreasonable delays. We're going to make people just get off the dime and start delivering services. What I want to do in terms of improving the quality of life, going back to that, when Mayor Danks was mayor, he stopped, we used to have J-Tran bus stop benches all over the city. They had advertised on it. At that time, how long had Danks been gone? 25 years? They were bringing over $600,000 a year just from advertising from the benches. I want to go back to that, use that money. If we can get $600 to $1 million a year in revenues from the J-Tran advertising, we can use that to lease public work equipment until we can purchase public work equipment. What we need to be able to do is when you corner your councilman up in the Kroger's and you, oh, I need to do this in here, you can get on the phone and call his hotshot guy who works his ward. Hey man, I need you over there in the morning to take care of this. So we're just going to go back to put money where the money needs to be to do things that needs to be done. It's not rocket science. But I got a good team. These two young ladies here, there's so many people out there with skill sets who are willing to do it for free. If I told Fondren or Belhaven, okay, we're going to come over there and do this, this, and this, can you give us some volunteers to help out? Because we can't pay for all the government that we need. Just can't do it. So that's why if you go back to the Kim credits, I told you about those 100 credits they could get. Okay, we couple the volunteerism of some of these businesses that have already been profiting from Jackson, along with the community effort of those who want better. We're going to have a better Jackson. What I see happening in the first 4 years, we're going to create pockets of prosperity where they already exist. For instance, Country Club in Jackson calls and says, Kim, we got a pothole over here that needs to be fixed. Okay, I know if I go over there and fix that, and they square it away, so no different than the Dave Ramsey roll-up method of paying off debt. The one that needs the least, take care of that, and then you don't have to fool with them anymore. We're going to the next neighborhood, and then the next neighborhood. But what they'll try to tell you, well, what about South Jackson? What about this here? We got no problem with that. But in order to have the money to do it, we got to do it in a manner that is going to generate income. We got to generate some revenues. We got to get this cash to flowing. And so the people, let's just go back to the Belhaven again. Let's say that they buy into what I essentially call a contract with Jackson. That's what I'm calling. I say Belhaven, I say to all the community neighborhood associations and wards. On election night or the next day I see that Belhaven gave me 100% support. That means they bought into the contract that I was offering. So when Belhaven calls, I know that whatever I put in there, they're going to augment it with volunteer work, etc. To make, because we can pick up all this paper here today, next week it's going to be like back out here again. We've got to start working on that attitude. So we get Belhaven, let's say Belhaven did everything that we're talking about, and as a result, the quality of life improves in that neighborhood, all the vacant lots fill in, all the empty houses fill in, then you start getting the Pizza Huts and the Bezos and all that stuff coming back, or coming to it. So every new business that locates there as a result of this effort, they get a penny off every new sales tax dollar that comes from that new business. That penny goes into their community fund, so if they want speed bumps, if they want park enhancement, they got some money that they can do it on their own. We got kind of go back to a meritocracy. People say, well, why are you doing all that for the people of Belhaven? Because they have entered into a contract. They have demonstrated that they want better. And this is when we got to start raising the game. Because otherwise, we'll go to those people who, well, what about the people down there in South Jackson? Oh, that's fine and good. But show me that you can. Because without the Belhaven community generating money, the people in South Jackson won't have what they have. Whatever they feel that is or not enough or whatever, it's not going to be anything. The income stream is coming to a halt, so we got to be mindful of that as we go about doing it. So this is all that I'm saying is, guys, that we're going to lift the gaze. We're not going to be spending time on the race things. Not that race is not important, but it's about 19th or 20th on the things that are important. So we're just going to just go around them and say, on election day, I'm looking for 50 plus 1. This is the way I see forward to a victory. There are enough people in Jackson, in the 39211, cross 55. There's enough people in Jackson of voting age who have not been voting, who if they turned out along with the people who have been voting, along with about 10 or 15% of the rest of Jackson, Jackson Mall, South Jackson, etc., joining the contract, as it were, we can go to victory. Then in 4 years, we're out to run again, then we can expand it to everybody. But right now, we got to get the people who believe. Because if not, you'll get bogged down trying to argue with folks. Well, what about South Jackson? What about, okay, oh, that's fine and good. But you're raising all these red herrings. We need to get off the dime, guys. And we can't let these people drive the debate. That's what I was saying about the meeting that starts at 8 o'clock. You can't spend the first 2 or 3 hours of the meeting talking about miscellaneous, emotional crap like that. We're just not going to do it. We're not going to allow it. So we're just going to bring some, and see, as a result of me having been in the media for 35 years, as a conservative, people know that I paid the price. They know I'm not going to change. They know my message. They know what my message is, so they're not going to be surprised. I'm the only one who can say the things that I'm saying and do the things that I'm proposing to do. There's not a black candidate who will run it. There's not a white candidate that can do it. Only me. And it's because I understand how all this fits together now. I don't have, again, a magic wand, but I have a determination that Jackson can be what Atlanta failed to become, what New Orleans failed to become, what Memphis failed to become. But it's going to require us to stand together. So people, because of my conservatism, they'll ask you, oh, you're going to be with that bomb-thrower, right-wing conservative? Rather than respond, don't say anything. You got to respond. Just say, Because if you respond, they're going to try to quantify and try to figure out how many votes I can get, etc. Just be nonchalant. Then they don't know. That's what happened in this last election a couple weeks ago. Trump had created so much uncertainty as to how many folks were going to be crossing over who traditionally had not voted for him that they didn't know how to steal the vote. The traditional method wasn't going to work. So we're going to do the same thing here. So the bottom line is, we're coming in here with some tried and true methods. Real estate is going to be the key to restoring this thing. But the real estate can only be improved and enhanced if we get our schools together. And think about it. Everything that I've said here doesn't require money. It doesn't require nobody. If the legislature doesn't do it, and matter of fact, my program and my policies is based on the fact that if nobody gives us a dime, we're going to still be successful. Because once we start making improvements and people see that old junkie that's got his act together and cleaned his act up, they want to support that. People love a winner. People respect. That's why I've been saying this for years about when a man is being a man, the whole world orientates himself around him. Regardless of what you think about Donald Trump, he didn't change. But he brought a lot of new folks in to support him. You know why? Because people love a winner. People respond to testosterone, they respond to masculinity. And that's what you're seeing. But you got all these folks trying to make nice and be friends and all that. It's not going to do it. You have to be resolute, just like his cabinet picks. Oh, this guy's too this and that. So you get over it. If not, then you won't. So I could go on. I probably just need to take some questions now because I know we only got so much time, and you're welcome to ask some questions. But I just want to let you know this stuff is doable. The main thing that we have to do is have a standard bearer who's willing to stand there and take the arrows when they come in. You know, I can work with anyone, but I'm not going to put up with BS. You're not going to come in here and drag the program down with delays and all this kind of stuff. But you got to anticipate that they're going to do it. But our goal is to work around. I look at life. I don't look at racism or anything like that. The way I see life is they're like traffic lights. When I wake up in the morning and leave home, I expect to encounter something. Some will be red, I'll stop. Some will be green, I'm going right on through. Yellow, I'm looking both ways. And that's the way it is with life. You just overcome the obstacles. Don't worry about the name on the obstacles. Your goal and your job is to overcome it. And that's what we're going to do. A friend of mine worked for the city of Jackson, Public Works, retired military. And he says, I saw him at the gym and we were just talking. And I was telling him about the candidacy. He said, Kim, you know what I saw when I worked for the city? I said, what? He said, I just saw people who are afraid to be great. And that's why I'm telling you, we're going to be great. We're going to be great. People are going to look at Jackson and say, that's what we want. You know, you got a large black population here in the city of Jackson. There's no reason why we can't operate in the black. We're going to have some generally accepted accounting principles for each department. When I leave there at the end of 4 years, they're going to have controls in place where we're not going to have this mystery about what's the budget, where the money is, and all that. No. That's why I'm not coming in going after anything. I will come in and say, you know, there's an amnesty if anybody wants to come and talk and tell me what's been going on. But I'm not purposely going in there trying to root out, go after this individual, that individual. Because once we put the controls in place, it's going to point back to who was doing some stealing. So there's a method to the madness, but we're going to have generally accepted accounting principles be the rule, the coin of the realm for each department. There ain't going to be no mysteries about where the money is. Again, I spoke with Mary Hawkins. She said, Kim, I'm not a money girl. I don't do numbers. She said, but I hire people who do numbers. I hire people who I can trust who can do numbers. And that's what I'm going to do. We're going to get the best people, because essentially what I want to do is have a city manager doing the day-to-day. I'm going around, like when I get that call from a builder saying, hey man, my paperwork is just stuck, then I'm going over there with the hammer to get that thing checked. So we're going to eventually get this thing working smoothly. But the main thing is we're going to at least have some oases of prosperity where you can go, move to, or be, enjoy your dinner in the evenings and things like that. But we want to get it where you can at least walk your dog or take your garbage can down to the corner or down to the curb without having to carry your gun. That's our goal and game plan. It ain't rocket science. So I think we touched on the major areas, but if you have any questions or comments about how I will do anything, I certainly will take them at this time. I do also want to say that the campaign is on target. We picked up some heavy hitter support. People ask me why aren't my signs out everywhere? Because the presidential election was going on and it was just too much background noise to be throwing it out there like that. The things that are going to determine this election are unfolding as we speak. I understand there's going to be some more indictments coming down or more council people. So we're going to have a clean slate. The way I look at it, the Lord is grooming a pathway for the victory. So I'm excited about the future. I have no regrets about offering myself up for the candidate. I'm not lusting after office. Even as I speak to you, I'm not asking for your vote for me. I'm asking for you to go to my website, look at my policies. I want you to get behind the policies. I'm not on an ego trip. I know who I am. I have a very healthy ego. My self-esteem is not cratering. I don't need stroking like that. This is what I need. I need for people to say, this is possible. Join with me. This is possible. Tell your friends, hey, let's get behind this guy. If you listen to all the other candidates, I'm talking about to the last man, not one of them are offering any ideas on how to finance. All they're doing is restating the problems. It's fine. But at the end of the day, I'm the man to beat. They know it. I got an offer last Sunday night. Well, if you drop out, what job do you want in the ministry? I'm not looking for a job. What I want for the city of Jackson cannot be purchased. I want Jackson to be better. I want Jackson to will stand on its own 2 feet without government assistance if necessary. I mean, we don't reject government assistance, but that's not going to be our first avenue. At the end of the day, you and I are responsible for ourselves. We're responsible for Jackson being able to flow. What I want to be able to do at the city council meeting, behind every council person, I want to have their share of the budget that they need to come up with from revenues from their area. They may not meet it, but I wanted Kenny to be reminded, Kenny, you ain't nowhere near me with your portion. Not to punish Kenny, but make him look bad. I just want you to be reminded that it's the Ashby Forts and the Virgil Lindsay's district that's coating the city. So we're going to give them their due. So there's a method to the madness. We're going to have pockets of oases where people can go. Swan Lake, Heritage Hills, Carriage Hills. There's still good subdivisions in the city of Jackson. We got to get them to buy into this stuff. But if we sit up here and do the Red Rover, try to get everybody to join arms, because if you do that, all you're trying to do is get me elected. You got some people who are diametrically opposed for one reason or another. Sometimes they're just not informed and don't want to be informed. That's costly. That's a luxury. So we need those of us who know better to do better. So I just ask that you go to votekimwade.com, look at the program. I want to commend the videographer for what he's done with my website, along with sales, dollar by. Look at the webmaster at the bottom. They did a great job. In fact, they did such a good job. When I went back and looked at the website, I was on the fence about voting for me. And then when I looked at the website, oh yeah, I like this guy. That's how good of a job they did. So I want to commend them for that, and my staff for bringing us to this date. This is a winnable election. People say you can't win as a conservative here in the city of Jackson. I said, that's not what God said. That's right. He told me to stand where he tells me to stand. It is up to him should he desire to grant the victory. But I got to be prepared. So I just ask that you join with us, and we're going to turn some caps around. We're going to peel some caps back. Nobody has to fear me. That's what I was trying to tell Sod now. You ain't got to fear me. You just ain't going to make no killing. But we need your help. We need your help. So you want us to give you special dispensation as it relates to the contracts, so you can come up, but people can't get water at reasonable prices. We're not doing that anymore. No, I'm not your enemy. And for those who don't vote for me, ain't nothing gonna happen to them. When they come down there with a worthy project that's paperwork in order, you know why? Because I want that currency to flow. Flowing water gives life. Stagnant water gives death. The water is stagnant in Jackson. So we're going to get back to the basics. So again, the quality of life. One of the other things I like to tell people is on going back to the trash. We're going to put cameras. Let's just say that this was a jail down at Raymond. Got cells on both sides. We're going to put monitors all up and down the walkway of the cells. And we're going to have those trail cameras all over. We see somebody dumping. If that prisoner catch that license plate and reports it, and we catch that guy, that prisoner is going to get $20 on their books. Lee Vance told me something. He said, Kim, he said, there's only a small number of people committing all these crimes. He said, half of them in jail now, and the other half headed to jail. So we got those monitors down there, and your ring camera shows somebody coming, stealing a package off your porch, and that guy sitting in the jail said, man, that's Junebug. So he dropped a dime on Junebug. We catch Junebug, he gets $20 on his book. We're solving the problems. Everything doesn't require a whole lot of money. We already got money from the federal government for the cameras. So we're just going to work our way back. We're going to work with the asset. Our parents did the same thing to what I'm talking about. If all they had was 2 nickels, brother, what did they do? They made it work, didn't they? They made it work. And we're going to do the same thing. If all we have is 2 nickels, then we're going to eat beanie weenies until we can get our weight up. But we're going to make those, but we're going to have our dignity. And I promise you, the legislature has no problems working with the city. As a matter of fact, I'm spoken. I'm the last call. If you got businesses in the city of Jackson, you got 4 years to get them out under me if we don't prosper. Okay? Because the other group, what they're saying, you just going to get more of the same. Like I said before, this is doable, but the main thing we need to do for you to believe Jackson can be better. We're going to make Jackson work. We're going to make Jackson great. So won't you join us? Go to votekimwade.com. Thank you.